This week on Celts in the Caribbean, we're going to be talking about
Swimming cows.
millions of Polish cannibalistic ants,
Dildos and Dragons.
cocaine-fueled feral hogs,
And Sesame Street. What a boss show it is.
and of course, very expensive whale vomit.
Welcome to Celts in the Caribbean. I'm Eunan, and across from me is...
I'm Alan, coming you from sunny Bon Air.
Exactly, yeah. It maybe not so sunny now. It's pitch black, but it is the height of our summer,
Yeah,
which
the
is
sun's shining
365 days a year.
We are getting mauled by mosquitoes tonight, so if you hear
Yeah.
random slaps, that's not us disagreeing with each other. That is just us fighting off the mosquito army.
Exactly, yeah. We've had some rain in the past few days, so that means that we have mosquito hatchings, which last for a little bit, and they're absolute fucking torture.
Well, we have an amazing show for you coming up this week, guys. I hope you checked in last week or 2 weeks ago and heard our nonsense there. But got a couple of updates on some things, but I think Eunan's got a cracker that he wants to start off everything with. So we're gonna, if it's your first time listening, we just go through the week's headlines, have a little chat about them, everything that's been It is legitimate headlines, so this isn't The Onion where we just make up fun headlines. These are from the BBC and Rolling Stones, and I've got one from, I've been expanding my horizons. I have one from Fox News.
Oh, look at you!
Check me
That
out.
is expansion.
And one from the Manchester Evening Times,
I
which will be, I'll
I
hold that
actually
off because
should've-
people will hold on to their seats. I
think
I'll
one-
be in the second half.
I think one of mine is from Coconut Info, so I'm not so sure how that one's going to fare in.
Is that got a Caribbean flair to it, this one?
No, I don't think so.
No.
I wanted to start off this week by talking about the death of a great inventor.
Dun, dun, dun.
The death of the inventor of the sour toe cocktail.
I had this one. Captain Dick Stevenson.
Exactly.
What a legend.
What a legend.
I had heard of this cocktail beforehand, but I had to have a look and see what it was. Do you want to tell everybody what this sour toe cocktail
Yeah, I
involves?
will, but also I think I was the same as you. I'd heard it as like sour toe cocktail, but I just thought it was a cocktail that was like a normal cocktail. Actually,
How wrong you
how
were.
wrong I was. It turns out that it back in the day, Captain Stevenson found a petrified toe in a boat.
Was he from? Is Alaska? Is he a fisherman in Alaska?
It's
Is that
the
right?
it's the Yukon
The
Peninsula.
Yukon.
Yeah, and
Yukon.
he found this petrified toe, and they didn't know what to do with it, and they were having a couple of drinks, and they were like, you know what we can do? We can start this elite club, or elite, I suppose, club of people who are game enough to have a drink with this toe in the drink. So the sour toe cocktail itself could have been any drink that you wanted, rum, vodka, gin, whatever. But the toe would go into the cocktail, and from that, everyone who drank it would not be able to get away from having the toe touch their lips.
Do you remember the little saying?
No, what is it?
It was like, you can drink it fast, you can drink it
It's
slow,
slow.
but your lips must touch the toe.
What a legend. Over 100,000 people have tasted the toe water. How fucking crazy is that?
So here's to you, Captain Dick Stevenson. Good for you, man.
Captain Dick.
I would have liked to have had a beer with him.
I think his daughter now is saying that she wants one of his toes to be added to the collection, because over the years they've gathered another 7 toes.
What? We're from? Like, they're
Don't-
not just finding these. So
No,
I guess in the Yukon, you're like frostbites pretty prevalent in like
No,
losing your
no.
toes. If you're going to do something with your toe, you may as well.
They're donated, but I don't know if they're donated by people who are still alive and
Do you
just
mean
lost a toe.
tonated?
Exactly, that's what I meant to say. Oh, that was so bad. That was so cheesy. Ho! There's another one. But yeah, they gathered another 7, so this is going to be, what, number 9 now, probably. I'm sure there's probably more, but yeah. How disgusting.
Well, you nailed that on the head with that.
Oh, that's so bad.
We have so on Bonaire we have our own captain who's a bit of a legend. He Captain Don Stewart.
Yeah.
He is renowned for bringing diving to Bonaire, which is like the most famous thing that we're known for. And one of my favorite, he passed not long ago, within like maybe five
it's like
years or so.
3-4 years ago he passed away. Yeah.
But my favorite story about Captain Don was before, like a few years before he passed, he lost his leg. I don't know why. I don't know if he had diabetes or
It was a
something,
shark
but-
attack. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, it was a condition. I'm sure. But
Yeah. He just it wasn't for aesthetic purposes. No. I'm sure. But so he had his leg amputated, and he had a full ceremony, a full funeral for his leg, and had a little gravestone and put it in a little casket and everything, solely so when at the bar he could tell the joke that he already had one foot in the grave. And I love that. I love that story, and it makes me sad that I didn't get a chance to meet him. And but yeah, Captain Don,
a bit of a legend by all respects. I mean, like whenever he started, it was absolutely nothing. No dive industry, no nothing here. He came, I think, originally he came on a sailboat, but he was also pilfering fish off the reef. He would take them in bags and he would sell them for aquariums.
Oh, okay.
And that was like, I think, part of his business back in the day. But then he started to realize how much the reefs actually meant, and he became a super advocate of it. And since the 70s, he created this marine park around Bonaire.
It's always good to see when people
Flip.
Yeah. And it's quite common. You see, like I worked for a turtle sanctuary in Costa Rica, and a lot of the guys they hired were poachers, reformed poachers, because they were the best at finding the turtles. So like they like started, like rather than just being like don't poach, they're like, okay, we need to find a solution to this. So they paid the poachers to do it.
One of the bigger advocates on the island here was a former poacher of it.
Oh, okay.
And now he's like probably the main guy on the boats whenever they go out to tag the turtles, because he knows how they move. He knows the patterns, and he knows how to catch them, and he's like a really invaluable asset to the team, and it's good when it comes full tilt, I think.
Yeah, I think the director of Jaws is a big one as well. Like he really regrets. I don't know if he regrets making
Steven
the movie.
Spielberg.
Was it?
Yeah.
Maybe the writer, the author.
Oh, perhaps.
One of them. I don't think the story is about Steven Spielberg or anybody, but like he regrets the Jaws making like the sharks out to be these terrifying things, and he's now a big advocate of like, let's stop fishing them, let's stop hunting them.
But that's good, because he can see what his life's work actually achieved, which was absolute hysteria, and it wasn't founded, I suppose.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about another legend.
Go for it. Who are we talking about?
We're talking about Ben Ball. He's a
legend,
but a new legend. This gentleman,
legend. Can we call him Legend of the Ball?
Legend of the. I think he would love that. Let me show you a quick photo of Ben. This is Ben.
Oh my god!
So he's got a dwarf from Lord of the Rings beard. So no mustache, just the big crusty beard. Star Wars t-shirt on. And what are those? It's a woolly. What would you call those kind of hats? It's not just a beanie, because it also covers your ears, and you can like tie it underneath your chin.
Yeah, it's the Pippi Longstockings one.
Pippi Longstockings kind of thing. So this guy, he He lives in Kalamazoo County,
Oh,
which also
in
sounds
Kansas.
Do you know Kalamazoo? I've never heard of Kalamazoo.
I know.
It sounds made up.
I know my.
I think it's in Michigan.
Okay. I know my wife was there a few years ago. She always talks about Kalamazoo.
I wonder if... No, never mind.
if she knew him, I don't know.
Did she meet Ben? So, Ben was just having a relaxing, nice Saturday night. So he was in playing video games and watching Rick and Morty. Sounds like a fucking awesome evening.
At the same time.
And somebody kicked in his door. Broken in. Apparently it was like the ex-boyfriend of his flatmate kicked in the door and was looking to rob the place and just was starting messing stuff up. Now Ben is also into his lair. So that's his like live action roleplay. So it's the quote here is like, when Ben is not working at Applebee's, he competes in ritualized combat.
That dude works at Applebee's? Are you fucking kidding me? How do you get past with the hygiene with that shit?
Well, I might like put him in an Applebee's
with
like
a beard
uniform.
net?
I don't know what it is. Yeah, maybe a beard net. But because of his lair and his ritualized combat, he has which sounds so weird. He has several weapons.
Okay.
In his house. So like, and he has a particular one that was like a Viking battle axe, two-handed battle axe.
Of course you do.
Yeah, and he attacked the intruder with it. Like, so he like fucking smashed this battle axe into the guy's thigh. I guess hit an artery. Blood went everywhere.
Oh my
the guy
God.
ran away. The police eventually caught the guy because they were able to like
Follow
the trail of blood. And that was what
was the proximity of the battle axe to the video game that he was playing? Is he like just sitting with like all the axes around him while he's playing?
It sounds like it's not his only battle axe. So,
oh, sweet lord!
And this one is called his baby because the guy that designed it is now passed or whatever. So he was particularly fond of this one.
Yep.
So I don't know if he went out of his way to find his favorite battle axe or if it was the closest one. But yeah, so he's got a sword in his hand. He's obviously got a decent collection.
He's also wearing a Star Wars t-shirt. This guy does not fit in any box. Tongue in cheek. Really? Oh my god. Yeah. Oh, good on you, Ben.
Yeah, good on you, mate. It was probably one of the greatest moments of his life, I imagine.
I can imagine.
Where he gets to use... Like, I bet
did he manage
fantasized about using that battle axe for months. Or, well, since he got it.
And did he get prosecuted for this?
No, there's tons of laws in like the states that like
protect your home.
Yeah, the castle laws or whatever. Like your home is your castle. Like if somebody steps on a blade of grass, you're allowed to shoot them in the face. I'm not sure that's the exact law, but it's it's very
you're paraphrasing.
Yeah. But yeah, if somebody kicks in your door, you're pretty much it's game on. You can do whatever you want. If anybody,
it's golden axe time, people.
Yeah, but if anybody's listening, like double check with your local laws before you start just like battle axing people in the head that are wandering onto your on your lawn.
And not just people who come to deliver parcels and shit like that. They're supposed to be intruders, no?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a good point. Like,
yeah.
If the Amazon guy puts his hand too far through your letterbox, I'm not sure you're
allowed to just slice it off.
Yeah, take a samurai sword and take his digits off. But
I did watch a viral video of a guy fending off attackers who were invading his home. I don't know if you've seen this. I'll show it to you afterwards because I haven't got this like written down, but it's an incredible video. Like, the guy comes walking down the stairs, and just as he comes down, a guy bursts through the door, and his initial reaction is to just punch the guy in the face. It's absurd, like, how quick this guy was. He just, like, punches him in the face. And then another guy comes in, and he punches that guy in the face, and the other guy gets up, and he goes to hit him, and he punches him, and then another guy comes in. It was fucking crazy. And then his little dog comes into the middle of it. The dog starts biting. And I think there was four guys in total try to enter the house, and he fended all of them off. It was absurd. And like the pièce de résistance of it was after that, because they got, I think the people who were entering got so pissed off that he was like beating them up that they then all tried to storm the house, and he gave a bunch more punches, and then they kind of fled. And you see him running out of picture, and I'm like, thank God, like, because these guys are going to kill you. And he comes back from the kitchen with a fucking knife, and he goes right out the front door and chases them down the street. You're like, oh my God.
It's a good job that's not my natural reactions, because I own a guest house, so I have a lot of people coming in. I'd get a lot of 1-star reviews. Like, yes, every person that came in was like, boom. Oh, sorry, you're here to...
I can imagine like Blue and Briggs getting involved as well. No,
just gumming people.
It's one of those videos that you watch that you know it's like, it is like gratuitous violence, because how it's presented is like, yeah, go guy who is like really can be aggressive. But also, when you're watching it, you're like, fuck yeah, man. Like, good for you for standing your ground. Like, but he could have got knifed or shot or whatever. I mean, like, serious. But, yeah, it all worked out in the end. I'm going to show you that video afterwards.
Excited. I have a quick one.
Go for it.
So this one's from... it's an Irish army lad. So I thought... it's just... I only read the headline, but it's a good one. So his name's Axel, but spelled A-K-S-E-L. Is that an Irish spelling?
No, definitely not.
No. Okay. Well, he was in the Irish Army. Doesn't mean he was Irish.
Yeah.
But so
we typically like to recruit like our rugby team. So it's
well, this guy had a bad day. So it is November. So I think it's the 16th now, but 5th of November is Gunpowder, Treason and Plot.
Yeah,
that was
remember the 5th of November.
Exactly. So that's when all the wee Neds are running around with fireworks and just like fucking being a bit of a pain in the arse. But this lad, he's retired now. He's like 55. So
is he living in the UK?
Don't know. Just read that.
Okay.
So he's a bomb disposal expert, and he'd been in the Irish Army as a bomb disposal expert. I'm assuming he probably got a lot of experience while he was there.
Hey! The first sectarian joke of the night. I love it. Thank you.
And he managed to blind himself with a firework when it exploded in his face. I got this one from Unilad. So that's just a little...
What was he doing?
I don't know.
Oh, he was letting off fireworks
I
also?
assume it was his own firework. I don't know if he was like got a bit of PTSD or something and ran in and tried to like cover the firework with his body to protect everybody around him or something. But no, I assume he was just fucking around. Probably alcohol involved.
Oh,
Not
God.
making any assumptions. and took out his eye.
It's a fucking disaster.
Yeah.
All those years of bomb disposing, and then you get taken out by a €10 firework.
Yeah. Sorry, Axel.
Jesus. Sorry, Axel.
Yeah, I'm sure he.
Sorry to hear
I'm
that.
sure he sees the funny side of it. He's got 2 eyes. It'll be alright.
I'm gonna move on to Dungeons and Dildos.
Right. What a... As Monty Python would say. And now for something completely different.
And now for something completely different. Dungeons and Dildos, all the way from Manila. It's a new board game. Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's a new board game to spice up the sex lives of couples, or if you want to play it in a group, if that's your game, baby.
You're not going to pull out the game right now and we're going to play it on air, are we?
We sure aren't. In the game, you follow the Hornygeist, and it's this little ghostly figure, and you have to do what the Hornygeist says.
Is this a real game or is this Kickstarter just now?
Supposedly it's a real game, $32 online.
Amazon? Can we get it?
Probably Alibaba. But yeah, it's supposed to spice up sex lives and, give people a different perspective on a sex life. Dungeons and Dildos, people.
Well, I know what my folks are getting for Christmas.
The tagline is a test of restraint.
I instantly regret saying that.
A test of restraint and willpower. The game will get you aroused, and you have to not give in. That is the tagline. You're supposed to.
What's the maximum number of players in this game?
It depends on how much of an eyes wide shut evening you're kind of having.
Have you seen a photo of it? Is it a board game? Is it a card game? Does everybody get their own dildo?
It's a picture of Gandalf holding a dildo in a dungeon with a balrog. No, I have not seen the picture of it, and I'm not sure I'm going to buy the game, but I just thought it was absolutely brilliant.
That sounds amazing.
Yeah,
I'm very tempted.
What is it? Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. I was a little upset. So we had a good conversation last week about the testicuzzi, the jacuzzi for your testicles.
It is a great one.
I was wrong. It is still a Kickstarter.
Oh, so we can't buy it?
We cannot buy it. When we spoke last week, it only raised $3,440 out of $25,000 goal. But since we started speaking about it, and it's obviously gone hella viral.
Yeah, what, they're up to like $100,000 now?
No, 3,480.
Oh, they're still 3-4. Okay.
So maybe a couple. It does have, ironically, has 69 backers.
Hey.
9 days to go, people. Come on, they need to raise another $22,000 to make this reality.
Yeah.
Or just one person needs to buy the $10,000.
I actually had
one.
never seen their logo. It's a squirrel with 2 nuts. That is
I had not noticed
fantastic.
that. Yeah, but yeah, you can get them as little as $15.
Guys, we're coming up to Christmas.
Oh no, $15 is for a ha penis T-shirt. Yeah,
Penis?
That's been done. That was Adam's family used that joke.
I don't even know what the joke is. What is
Hap,
it?
it's like happiness, but it's hap. Yeah, I don't know.
Oh, that's...
These guys don't deserve to get funded. But okay, so here's so I kind of liked that segment last week. So here I'm going to show you a photo of. This is actually a Danish design, and it is, you can buy it. So I'm going to show you a photo, and you're going to have to try and guess what the product is for.
Oh.
Here we go. I mean, it's
Danish design without wood? What is going on?
I think it might be actually. Yeah, no, I think it's Danish or Dutch. Not important.
Don't know.
Well, it might be important to the guy that invented it, but
It looks... It kind of looks like a glass dildo and then a ball cock for your toilet attached to it.
It is a glass dildo.
Okay, and
But-
is that a ball cock also?
I don't know what this bit is, but why do you think it's see-through or empty? I'll just tell you.
Oh, please, because I don't.
The
I
suspense
don't
is
know.
killing-
I don't know what I'm looking
The
at.
suspense is killing me. This is it's particularly targeted towards widows.
Okay,
So-
is it called the Widowmaker?
It doesn't create widows. It's
Okay.
for widows. So when you lose a loved one and you have them cremated and you want to feel close to them again in
Uh-huh.
the bedroom, you can insert the ashes of your ex into this glass dildo.
Oh my god. What's with the rest of it? That's that's for water.
I guess this is how you put it in or something, or it
Oh,
keeps it it takes. So this is already on the market. It takes 16 days for them to make it. So it's it's obviously
16 days to make that shit.
It's obviously not being mass produced. It's quite a niche market.
No, it's been masturbated. Hey.
It says keep the intimacy alive, even when your former spouse is not.
Oh Jesus Christ!
Yeah.
This is pitiful. Where do you get this shit?
But it's quite. You can pack up to 21 grams of your dearly departed. I don't know why that matters. Like if I put 5 grams or 20 grams in.
And the name of the website that you found this is called This Is Why I'm Broke.
No, I found this
That's what it says.
I found it elsewhere. The story was on BuzzFeed or something, and it was just like I was trying to see if you could actually buy it. Like, I do some research just to make sure these are like legitimate stories we're putting out.
Oh, your search history must be a charm.
I'm regretting not going into incognito mode for this one. But there you go.
God. Yeah, well, I don't think.
So you can enjoy their company.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
Every night.
This is morbid.
Yeah.
This is morbid and weirdly sexual.
All right, let's switch on to some. Have you got something a bit more upbeat and
did
fun?
you see the cows that were swept away off the island, off the coast of South Carolina?
And they're all safe.
And they're safe.
Yes.
It was a mini tsunami of, well, it said 8 feet, but it swept the cows off after Hurricane Dorian off this island. And it says, and this is also something I never knew, but cows are really good swimmers, and I didn't know that.
I was unaware.
But the expert said cows were really good swimmers up to about 400 meters. I also don't know how they know that. Like, did they just put them in a pool and lap them? But anyway,
the Cow Olympics.
Supposedly, where they were found was an island next to the island that they were swept off, and it was 4 miles away, which meant that the cows had to swim during hurricane conditions for 4 miles to get to this other island. And when they were found grazing. Just like happy, just chilling out on this other island.
All right, guys, back to the abattoir. Come on.
Yeah.
Did they get, sometimes where like animals like go through a lot of stress. Did they get any reprieve? Are they beef animals or are they like?
To be honest, I don't know. I mean,
because it never really works out. Nobody has cows as pets, so
no. Except that one that I watch on YouTube that plays football. But that's different. That's different.
I want to see that video afterwards.
I also had a friend on the island here. I'll not mention her name in case she doesn't want it to be mentioned. But she used to ride cows. Like, as in
the Cow Olympics.
Some people would ride horses, but she was photographed, like, riding cows. This is her thing. She was like jockeying a cow in the Netherlands.
That's not a thing.
No, this is not a thing. It was a thing for her.
Is this just her drinking too much like Mad Dog 2020 and then riding a cow? Which I can understand more than there being an actual race of
No,
bovines.
I can't imagine there was much of a race to it. It was just more of show jumping. Yeah,
that's even less plausible. I think a race is more likely than a show jumping cow.
Dressage? Make this cow dance on the spot?
Maybe.
No.
All right, I need to see that video now as well.
I think I also have it. Let's watch it afterwards. But I will not post this online because she will probably kill me.
That's fair enough, but I need to know who. Like afterwards, I need to know who this is. I hope I know them. I do have some. I do have the most Bon Air news that I've heard for a while this week. So I was taking a couple of our guests back to the airport. The other day. We don't do that as standard in case anybody wants a lift. But
in case you're listening,
just a side note.
Don't ask me.
It was just because we had some work done. Anyway, it doesn't matter. So they'd been out on a snorkeling trip, and on the snorkeling trip, part of their group was a police officer, like from Amsterdam, and he'd come over to do some training with the local police officers. I think specifically it was like kind of high-end driving skills.
Okay.
So, like in a high-speed chase or whatever. Nobody can go particularly fast here because of the potholes. So he was over to do a lot of training, but the day before he arrived, the car and the police officer again the training crashed into a donkey and totaled the car. So he's not been able to do any training with them for the week. So he's just been going on like snorkeling trips and having a bit of a vacation. And I was like, that is the most Bon Air news I've heard for a while. Like,
it was like the first day of the coral sniffer dog. This is quite sad, but it was the first day of the coral sniffer dog at the airport, and
Here.
Yeah, not today, but the story was the first day that the dog was in action, it got run over.
Oh shit.
Yeah, it
On
died.
Bonaire.
Yeah,
Or-
yes, it was like 2 years ago. So it was like made the news here. It was like
Is there any
we got our
cons-
first coral sniffer dog, blah blah blah, for tourists who were taking coral and shells and stuff back, which they're not supposed to do. So to stop this, it's difficult to go through everyone's bag because it's also not allowed. But yeah, it's difficult to go through everyone's bag to get this shit. So they had a dog to do this to stop people leaving with these things, and then they got a dog for it. And then the first day that the dog was on call, it got run over.
By an airplane? I mean, that seems like a bit. Somebody's fucked up there. Like,
Yeah.
unless is there any conspiracy theory where there's a big coral smuggler on island that was like, whoops,
No,
speed bump.
No, there's no conspiracy to it. It was just like a really sad story because
That
like it was like
sucks.
so elated, like great, we got this, and then the next week in the reporter was just like, dog dies from getting.
This is
getting
why
run
you
over.
can't have nice things, Bonaire. Like, look after your shit.
Exactly, Jesus.
Stop crashing into donkeys.
Did you see the 52 million euros worth of coke that washed up on the French beaches?
I didn't, but I have another cocaine story after this.
Oh, let's get high. No. There's absolutely no info other than don't consume this from the French police.
So are they running about, like, assumingly very fast? trying
No,
to, like, pick it
People-
all up?
people-
Was it in pallets, or was it just
no,
like...
people started to find packages, 3 kilo packages, and the first 3 kilo package was found, and they obviously they called the police, and the police came in and tested it. It was like, this
I'm
is
going to take
really
a gamble
high
and say
grade.
it probably wasn't the first package that was found.
Yeah.
The first package that was found by
But
a responsible person.
but since then, like, a huge amount has washed up on the beaches to the cost of 52 million to whatever drug cartel that is. Now, I don't have fuck all to talk about it, but I want to ask, because we've both lived on Caribbean islands for a little bit now, surely you've heard these stories before.
Yeah, we got them a lot. So I lived in Cozumel, and there used to be totally unsubstantiated, but I'd heard them so many times. Like, there's an urban myth or not, but there was always like people are getting very creative. Whether it was like you've got
The
like the submarines coming in drones, using the currents was a big one, I think, on Cozumel. So they didn't even need to land; they just dropped the packages,
And the currents would take it to-
currents would
yeah.
bring them in, and you'd go over on the far side, and there'd be a little guy and living in a fisherman's hut with a Ferrari in his like a little hut made out of pallets and a Ferrari, and you're like, suspicious.
This guy's doing well.
But one of my favorite story was the army found a pallet of cocaine, and they made like a huge big deal of it. Like, this was like a fantastic result in the war on drugs. We've like collected all this cocaine. They did not like a public burning of the, well, not necessarily, it's probably behind closed doors or whatever, but they set it on fire and released the pictures, and so they set it on fire, burned the cocaine, and were like, yay, war on drugs. But that got in, like, it didn't just disappear. Like, you know, like some of it was in the soot and in the ash and in the smoke, and then, like, the story goes that it was landing on, you know, it was landing on the sidewalks, and it was landing on the cars and stuff, and people were like, you know,
Able to...
well, just like testing it, and the story goes that it was flour. So they switched it out with like a pallet of flour and set fire to the flour, and the
That the
cocaine
flour
had-
went everywhere.
the
And
flour went everywhere,
and the police
cocaine
held
had
on to the
disappeared.
coke. Oh,
Allegedly.
that is scummy. When I was living on Little Cayman, they told me about a couple of stories where the prevailing currents brought stuff to shore, and why it was a really good thing to beachcomb there, because At one point, someone had found a bale of cocaine. So like from that, there wasn't like that was the urban myth that someone had found this huge amount of coke, and that was all it was ever talked about. But it always like piqued my interest because in and around these islands, there's always these crazy stories. Even on the other side of the island last year, about the guys who had a high-powered speedboat with all the bales of coke, and the Coast Guard came upon them, and they fired their water cannons on them. Did you see this?
No. I didn't.
And they fired their water cannons on them to just put out the engines, essentially drown the engines. And the guys were like dumping all the coke off the boat, and to a certain point where the boat then was no longer functional. So they drowned the engines, and then all these guys were like jumping overboard, and the fucking the Dutch Coast Guard like pull up alongside them, and they have the mini speedboats, and they're flying around like a proper haul. You don't see it in like our local news. That's the fucking funny part of it. Like, you have to, as soon as you see it, like, or someone talks about it, you have to like research it, and then it comes up in like legit websites that this actually happened.
That sounds exciting.
Yeah,
That's cool.
Did you see the documentary? I will not give the documentary away entirely. However, it is fucking awesome. Cocaine Island on Netflix.
No, but I've seen it. I saw the trailer.
You have to watch it. It is so good.
Shit, I'm bad with you. Now. I watched the trailer.
I
didn't see the full
No,
thing.
man, it's so good. It's like
it's an older lad, no? He was like
it is. And it's all about urban legend, and that's the brilliant part of it. It's like it talks about this guy who it's like a community of people living in a part of Florida, and they were just really enjoying life. They lived on a creek, and they would always meet up for a bonfire on a Friday night, and they would just drink and smoke weed and just talk shit. And this guy always had this story about the time that he found the bale of cocaine on this island in Central America. And he talked about it so vividly, but everyone always just took it that this old hippie who lived in the woods was just full of shit. Until one guy one day was like, I think I'm going to go look for it, because the guy found the coke and buried it. That was the point of the story for everyone. It's like he actually took it and buried it, and it was a huge amount. And they found out the street value was like a few million. So they're like,
but surely that kind of thing would rot over the years.
I don't know. I really don't know if it does. Like, maybe it's so chemically so chemically induced that it doesn't rot. But so it was like buried in this one spot, and this guy who was like this, I'm sorry, but he was a big fat dude who was like a construction manager, and he had the money to spend to like continually fly to this island to try and figure out whereabouts the coke was buried. And the whole thing is just insane. You have to watch it.
I'll check that one out.
It really is good. It's got so many twists and turns. It's more so than Game of Thrones. It's yeah.
Well, I think Celts in the Caribbean will release a statement for your own preservation. If you ever find a barrel of cocaine on the coast, just leave it be. Walk away.
Don't
just
according to the French police, do not consume
do not consume. Walk away. My one was a quick one. I was like, it was Rolling Stones this week. It was a pack of feral dogs managed to sniff out a cocaine stash. Feral hogs. Did I say hogs? Hogs.
No,
or
you
dogs?
said dogs.
I thought I said dogs.
They kind
of
like them.
A pack of feral
but
hogs
tastier.
Sniffed out. It was only 22 grand worth. So now it seems negligible. It's nothing.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah. But so they found that and destroyed. Like, I assume they ate it. And or sniffed it, whatever they wanted to do.
Whatever hogs do with coke.
Yeah. Boom. Next.
Brilliant.
Done.
What else are we talking about, mate?
What have I got here? I've got. Oh, so I've got. I've not got a huge amount like discussion wise. It's just epic headlines. There's like, so here's a headline that I quite enjoyed. This was from
Drink.
this. This is from IFS. It's I fucking love science. I think it's a Facebook one. So nearly 1 million cannibalistic ants trapped in Polish weapon bunker makes a long anticipated escape. Now there's a quality headline.
That is a good headline. But
cannibalistic ants. It sounds more aggressive than
does that mean that they eat other ants?
Yeah. Like
Okay.
when I first I was like, oh, human eating ants, and I'm like, no, wait, no, that's not what that means. It just means they're eating other ants. So it's not
okay.
it's not really as terrifying as it sounds.
Yeah, and maybe this happens all the time in the animal kingdom.
And the long anticipated escape. So what had been happening? They'd been dropping into the top of this like nuclear bunker, and so there's a hole in the top, and there was no way for them to get out, and they just created this like mega colony of millions of them, and to survive, like because new ants keep dropping in, and there's no source of food, they're just eating each other. And the long anticipated escape was just a scientist putting a 2x4. So I don't know where the anticipation is.
Free.
It's like, how
You're
will I
free.
possibly get them in? Like putting a 2x4 in
Go eat your cousin in the other neighborhood.
and like then watching to see if they'd get out. I think it was like more of a social experiment, like to see how all these ants were like interacting, because there was no queen in there.
Oh, is that isn't normal, is it?
Yeah, so that wasn't normal. I don't know how out of 1 million ants, like if they went through them all. And
Just a bunch of anarchists.
yeah, some of these people.
Some of these people.
Too much time on your hands. Go and work. There's a lot of world problems. Go and work on something a bit more important.
Well, talking about more important.
Let's.
Yeah, I was going to talk about 5 moments that Sesame Street defined, how progressive TV could be.
I love Sesame Street.
I love Sesame Street too.
I love the 2 old guys. The super grumpy old guys.
Yeah.
I don't know what they're called.
Nah.
But they always like.
This
it's one of
show-
my favorite shows when I go to. I think it was Disney or whatever.
Yeah, this shows how much we love it. But it's just like the 2 grumps.
How many Sesame Street characters can you name?
Fucking not many.
None.
Man.
Kermit the Frog, Oscar the Grouch, Big Bird,
Snuffleupagus.
Snuffleupagus, the Sexy Pig.
Was she also in Sesame? Were they in Sesame Street,
Yeah,
or were
it
they?
was Kermit the Frog and what was she called?
Miss Piggy.
Miss Piggy. Yeah, they were like having a weird kind of
So,
relationship.
probably a lot of people don't know how intellectually.
Can I guess a few of them?
Go for it.
If you got the top 5 there.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna go.
Go for it.
One of them's gonna be they have an autistic puppet.
That's not one of them, but
Really?
No.
That's not one of them. Oh, fuck them. Well, are they? They have.
This is just a news story. So like,
What about
what you're
Bert
saying-
and Ernie?
Yeah.
Like they're kind of seen as like a gay couple.
Bullshit.
They share the bath.
I'm just joking. They share a rubber ducky.
They share a rubber. That's not one of them either. Oh fuck.
So like how they started in in the 60s. I don't know if it was exactly 69, but like this is one part of it is how they started. They saw TV as not just something that was really bad for kids, because that's how people saw TV a little bit. It's like just lazy children watching stupid shows.
No, they're super wholesome. It's like
Yeah.
Mr. Rogers. They're trying to install good values, but
Exactly.
also like teach about different cultures and different there's an autistic puppet now. Where
Yeah,
they're like
no, I don't-
I'm surprised that's not in the 5. What are
No.
the 5? I'm dying
Okay.
to know.
So it started in Harvard back in the 60s. The creators were Lloyd Morissette and Joan Gans Cooney, and they wanted to use the medium of TV and technology to educate children. That would be number 1, because it wasn't really happening at that point. It was cartoons and programs and stuff, but also a lot of adverts that were just targeted towards children.
It's
so
like the Roadrunner, where it's just like, okay, if you ever meet a coyote, fucking
Smash
blow
it.
them up. Yeah, smash them.
And they were like, you know what? We can actually educate kids. We don't have to change the into a magical world. We can use an urban street with puppets, thanks to Jim Henson, and we can educate the kids with repetition. In the beginning, they used 4 humans, 4 normal people, but they were multicultural, and that was also a big thing. So it wasn't just like an Acme production of like Roadrunner. It was on a street in Brooklyn with a multiracial cast teaching life lessons, and that was like number 1. That was like a definitive thing that they done. Number 2 would have been the death of Mr. Hooper, and the death of Mr. Hooper, he died in 1989. Who was one of the human characters in it, and instead of Sesame Street like glossing over it and saying, you know,
he's gone to the farm.
Mr. Hooper has gone and got a haircut. They're like, no, death exists. So they had Big Bird explain death to these infant children, and it's like, when someone dies, they do not come back, which was part of the spiel. But
do you know if they do a little like disclaimer at the start of the episode, like to the parents, going like, okay, this is a heavy episode, this is what we're going to be discussing, you have to make a decision if you want your kid to watch this or not? No,
I don't think they do. But this is also part of it, and it's a really interesting. Sesame Street is like, if you ever read any Malcolm Gladwell, he does Tipping Point, and one of his big stories in Tipping Point is about copious amounts of wine being poured into a goblet.
I've skipped the wine glass because that was too many. There's been too many pours. I'm moved to pint glasses.
Yeah, it's happy.
I just need to pour once or twice.
No, so Malcolm Gladwell talks about how Sesame Street was one of the first productions to actually use audience feedback. So they would take kids into a room and they would figure out whether or not their feedback was positive or negative, or they actually learned something from it, or they actually retained the attention of the children. So like, they were really ahead of the game. Like, they used they had a professor that worked with them for years, a psychology professor from a university in the US, and he talked about child psychology, and this is how you keep kids engaged and so on. So this was big because no one else was doing it. Everyone else was like creating cartoons to keep people entertained. These guys were figuring out what keeps kids engaged and also learning. And they took parts from advertisements of like repetition of Frosted Flakes or Captain Crunch or whatever the fuck was on TV at that point. And they were like, this kid understands what this is because he sees this advertisement so many times a day. So like, they took this, and they took all the research that they'd done on it, and they made like a really concise program that actually was informative, and literally they can prove that it is actually it helps kids learn.
Nice. Unlike the Teletubbies, which actually regressed linguistic abilities, because people would start just making random noises that the Teletubbies would make rather than actually forming words.
I agree with that. Like, I think it's just, I think the kids loved it, but it was just absurd because they didn't learn shit. No. They learned that Nunu went boop boop, and the rest of them just like talked in gibberish. You know, this was,
and it was
really
a terrifying show. That little sun baby. Remember that? I still wake up with a cold sweat some nights. Like, little fucking.
I hope this motherfucker's not rising
coming
this
over
morning.
the horizon. I'm like, I can't watch the sunrise. It terrifies me.
They had a HIV positive Muppet or a puppet in it.
Oh yeah.
It was a South.
Should have guessed
This
that
was part of the South African Sesame Street, and this puppet was like called Takalani, and it's the South African version is called Takalani Sesame Street, and the character was called Kami. And
Did it address how it got HIV? Was it like,
Yeah,
did
it
his
did.
parents have HIV?
It did, yeah.
Okay.
So this was an orphaned puppet, and it had HIV because whatever had happened to the parents, and the mother had died, and then this puppet was left on its own, and it had HIV, and it addressed the problems with HIV. And like, these are big, big issues, and they're teaching them to like such a young demographic. Like, these enormous things. Like, I mean, such a trailblazer. Another one.
And Celts in the Caribbean would like.
We'd like to throw it out there to all the kids listening.
We just say that we like to come in with like funny and heartfelt like headlines, and we're talking about puppets with HIV. But
We sure are. The next one is a homeless character that was introduced in 2018 to the American Sesame Street family. The puppet was called Lily, and it was the first homeless member of the cast. Now, this I don't understand, because was Oscar the Grouch also not homeless?
that's a fair point. I mean,
He lived in a garbage can.
wasn't it like the TARDIS though? Once you went in, it was like massive underneath.
Oh, you mean you mean he had like a 3-bedroom semi?
Yeah, like once you go in the garbage can, is it not like he's just got like a penthouse underground apartment?
I've
Like,
never
I know
seen
that's an oxy. Like,
I've never seen his digs, but I always thought he was homeless too. So for me, that was like,
yeah, I think that's
don't
a
know.
fair. I think that's a very fair call.
Yeah,
It's like
I
if
don't
you
know.
live in the bin, if you live in a bin, you're not homeless. Like,
Yeah.
man up.
And the last one is, some of these I didn't know it happened, and this one is just hilarious. Elmo testified before Congress, literally. Elmo was called before Congress. It was the first puppet to ever be called before Congress.
So,
Exactly.
I'm assuming it's the puppeteer that got called. But did he actually have to bring Elmo as well? And
Elmo
what was
testified he was wearing a suit. The puppeteer wasn't visible.
What was the context? What's the
The context was musical education. I think it's musical education in children. So I think they were making a point that Elmo could also get involved with his sixpence.
Was Elmo given the death sentence?
No, he wasn't. But it
Thank
did.
goodness.
It did open up for other things within that you could talk about, as in like childhood obesity and stuff like that. And you talk about like the Cookie Monster, who always like just mash that shit
He
up, man.
loves cookies.
He
That's his favorite.
does love cookies. But as of a couple of years ago, he took cookies in moderation. So he only had a few cookies, and then he told kids about the issues with childhood obesity, and eating too many cookies could lead to diabetes, and talking about a balanced diet, etc. They were fucking trailblazers, man, or still are. And you know what? I think I should watch more Sesame Street for my news.
Yeah, I think we should. I don't have a strong link, I'll be honest. So
Bullshit.
let me give you. I've got. Do you want to hear a kiss story, Thai fisherman story, or a prison story?
Thai fisherman.
Thai fisherman. Okay, so this broke Thai fisherman. I don't know if he lived in a bin or not. It didn't say. He has struck gold.
Literally, or?
Not literally, but almost. He has found a super value. Like, it looked like a lot, like a big lump of cheese. Like, it looked super gross. Well, it is super gross. He found some whale vomit. All right.
Okay.
Like maybe the size of. I'm gonna say a sewing machine. That's just because we're.
Because you're looking at
so
a
it
sewing
was
machine.
like it was about the size of a sewing machine of like whale vomit, and apparently this is incredibly valuable. in the perfume industry.
Yeah.
So they use parts of the whale vomit for.
I thought they used glands and stuff like that. I didn't know they used stuff like that, but that's crazy, yeah?
Yeah, so I think they'll use whale oil and all this kind of stuff. But I've never seen like Dior release whale vomit for men.
No. But they'll use everything to create that. It's a science.
Yeah, this is science.
Yeah.
So he's doing quite well for himself now. On his,
No way.
this whale vomit find.
How the fuck did he? How did he find a way to sell that?
It washed up on the beach. He had no idea what it was. I don't know why he picked it up. That's my big question. Like,
there's a lot of questions
here. His smell was horrendous. Like, it doesn't smell like fucking roses or anything. And he decided to take it home. I just want to know what was going on in his mind at the time, because he didn't know it was valuable when he picked it up.
Yeah.
So why? Why?
Yeah, exactly. You don't know it's valuable. Why are you going to take this splodgy thing?
A big thing of whale vomit home. Like, I think he just never seen it before, and had probably been in the business for.
And whereabouts was this?
In Thailand, I assume.
In Thailand.
Yeah, I do have another water-related story. This is my Kiss story, so I'm going to move on. Kiss are performing an underwater concert for an audience of great white sharks. There is going to be a small human audience of about 8 people as well. But apparently, like, rock music underwater, the vibrations give off a similar vibration to a distressed fish. Which attracts sharks.
Fish, yeah.
Yeah, because they're like, oh... Because sharks are dicks like that. Like, oh, somebody's in distress. I'm going to fucking eat him.
Fuck you, Kiss. I'm going to eat you.
Yeah, so I think it's kind of on like a kind of... not a submarine, but like a glass bottom boat kind of thing, where like they're in like a see-through globe.
And do the fish have to wear that ghastly makeup?
I think they should. Yeah. This is in Australia, so that's gonna be awesome.
You think?
And I'm gonna we're at 56 minutes, so we've got a couple of minutes left. I'm gonna squeeze in my last head. Oh no, I've got a second page. Shit. I'll just do a couple of quick headlines. These are good. Because I've not mentioned the Manchester Evening News. Everybody's had to wait to 57 minutes.
But I bet you waited to 57 minutes to listen to this.
Here we go. Dun, 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 dun. A KFC customer in Manchester, I assume, didn't say it in the headline, was shocked by finding an offensive message printed on his gravy. So on top of his gravy had a little label. It had gravy. It had shitface written on it. He doesn't know if it was like just like bored workers or if it was meant for somebody else.
Oh my god.
But it had gravy, the date, and shitface written on his gravy. Well done, Manchester. You need to watch more Sesame Street.
I think so too. I think everyone needs to watch more Sesame Street. I think that's where we're going with this episode. My last one is the Russian professor who admitted to murdering his girlfriend.
The guy that dresses up in these like
Napoleonic
theatrical... Yes,
yeah.
I saw this.
And he was found in a river with a backpack carrying her limbs.
Yeah.
What a fucking nut job.
Have you seen the photos of him?
And you seen the photos of her? She's fucking gorgeous.
I didn't see the photos of her. Oh no, she was like a student or something. Yeah, so she's like 20 odd and like...
Yeah, she was like 20, 24 or something like that, and he was like in his 50s. He looked like a little fucking troll. Dressed up as Napoleon.
Why did you chop her up?
I don't know. I think she said Napoleon was a little dictator or something. No, they supposedly had like a lover's quarrel, and he killed her, and then he panicked because he was really hammered, and he started to chop up the body to get rid of it. Like, just jumped into fucking like dispose mode. I don't know what the he was watching too much Mexican cartel shit or something. But
Breaking Bad's pretty good for
yeah, exactly.
for learning how to dispose of
I
bodies.
was actually going to say, was he in Breaking Bad mode?
Nudge.
And yeah, he was caught with all of this stuff on him, but it wasn't just like he was just this normal professor. He was like a really high up professor that was renowned within Russia and France. And then all of a sudden he's before this courtroom having dismembered his lady friend. Absolutely crazy stuff.
Ouch.
Yeah, ouch.
A couple of quick ones. I'm a Celebrity. If you're listening from the States and you don't want it, it's basically a lot of Z-list celebrities are thrown into the jungle and do bush tucker trials. Not important, but
very much not important.
Just the headline. So, I'm a Celebrity camp has been taken over by a chlamydia-ridden koala bear. So I'm assuming
no way. He's fucking all the contestants, or
again, I didn't like. It's just the headline. But apparently, chlamydia is rife within the chlamydia within the koala bear.
It's gonna be like Alan Titchmarsh is the first to come down with it or something.
He has been in it, no?
I think he has. If he hasn't, he should be. Yeah, they're totally Z-listers. Even people in the UK don't know who they are. I actually saw something come by today going, a guide to how you know these people from. I'm a celebrity, get me out of here. I'm like,
there's a few. You do remember.
Really? I need a guide to know the celebrity? Fuck off.
And alright, I think we're coming to the end of the show. My final headline. An inmate has claimed he has completed his life sentence by dying.
Oh, saw this.
Yeah, so he was had a life imprisonment,
and then
while he was in there, he got kind of sick. He literally died for a few seconds, and he was brought back to life. And it's now
what an interesting court case.
Yeah, and he's like, okay, I've completed my life sentence, but I'd imagine. I mean, it is a loophole, but I feel like it goes life sentence minimum of 22 years or something. Like, life sentences aren't life sentences anyway. Like,
no.
If it was a proper life sentence, you'd be in there until.
But why is it called a life sentence if it's 22 years?
Yeah. Well, no, I just made up 22. Well, it's
no, but I think you're not far off.
Yeah,
like in
it's around about there.
Some instances, it's like 16 years, 17 years. Like it's not life. No.
So it'll be interesting to follow that and see if he gets off.
Okay, that's a good one. Let's keep up on that one because that's the new Making a Murderer.
Exactly. All right, guys. Thank you very much for listening. I hope you enjoyed this episode. I'd like to dedicate this one to my dad. He was in a bit of
turmoil.
Bit of turmoil this week. So if you're listening to that, shout out to him and.
Get well soon.
Get well soon. All right. Take care, guys.
Good
See
night.
you in a couple of weeks. Cheers. Night.
Bye.